You may not realize it, but this is probably the most volatile section in the joystick market. Any company who is currently making controllers is actively developing innovation at all budget levels of the space sim market. And this is being done to get the community's seal of approval as the best for space. If you don't believe me, go to a forum, a Facebook group, or a subreddit and ask, what should I buy? The channel does pride itself on a no bullshit approach, but as you can see from the length of the video, there's a lot to unpack here, a lot to discuss, and I'm going to work to add timestamps. You should and will comment your comments in the comment section of the video. Share the content widely so that everyone is armed with all of the information so that they can make the right choice. These products are meant to last a lifetime and be purchased once as an investment in your enjoyment. We begin. Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. If you were going to improve upon an existing product, you would be quicker to production, but you would inherit some limitations from the product that you're updating. Around 2013, there was a big boom in space sims, and unlike space games before, like Wing Commander or the X-Wing games, these space sims tried harder with full Newtonian flight models. We call these your 6 degrees of freedom or 6 DOF flight models. Us early adopters into this new style of game played with what we had, which was the hosas and game controllers. As both starcitizen and Elite Dangerous evolved to support dual stick, more of us tested hosas, which is hands on stick and stick. Hosas offered precise analog control over every axis that the ship could use, and once the user got over that initial learning curve, the hosas pilot had a marked advantage over others. One of my most watched videos laid out the advantages of switching over, and eventually hosas became more common than hotas. The Thrustmaster T16000M was inexpensive and ambidextrous. It was the go-to option for years. Others began producing their own dual-stick products at several target price points, and then we finally started to get these truly dedicated space sim grips. No doubt this had an impact on the T16000M market share, and it was probably discussed in some boardroom in France, and this was when the Solar project began. Full disclosure, I and others have been answering questions and offering feedback leading up to the release. I'm not sponsored by or part of the streaming partner program over at Thrustmaster. My opinions are my own, good or bad, and my goal is to keep you informed so that you're able to make the right choice for you. So at the start I mentioned that updating something would be quicker as most of the work is already done for you, but Thrustmaster wanted nothing to do with that and decided a clean slate, fresh from nothing. So what are the main differences that we need as space sim pilots? What are the factors that a space sim pilot would value the most? And is it possible to put all of that into one design? I'm going to tell you about the Solar joystick and then fill in the backstory as we go. Review videos often start with an unboxing, shipped as a pretty box within an outer cardboard box. Each joystick comes with all of the parts that you would need to make it operate in either hand, plus a USB to USB Type-C wire. The grip looks to be asymmetrical, but they are the same part with major components that can be removed and fully converted. The thumb rest, wrist rest, and pinky button can all be converted over. If you buy a solo Solar 1, it'll arrive configured for your right hand. Buying the dual Solar 2 set has left and right set for you out of the box, but as I said, even if you're only able to buy solos or single sticks, you can convert them over to be left and right. And of course, in the box, you also have some paperwork and everything is packaged safely to make sure that everything arrives without being damaged. The metal base plate is attached securely to the rest of the joystick base. It has 4 rubber pads, and there are an additional 4 stabilizers that you can add if needed. The underside has metal threaded inserts for hard mounting, plus a toggle switch for left and right operation, and that ensures that your bindings will never become confused by the PC and is a really nice detail. The left or right also changes the illumination close to the throttle slider. Most of us game and work from the same desk, so this helps to keep track of which goes where when you move things out of the way for when you're not playing. The gimbal has a very familiar threaded mount, but this has the updated connector supporting extra features, and you can see it because it's red and has an extra pin. You can use any legacy grip on the Solar gimbal. You can use the Solar grip on the more modern gimbals, such as the Ava with its red colored port. The grip is 1/3 the weight of the Warthog grip at 333 grams or 12 ounces for my US viewers, and remember that grip mass does not directly correlate to grip quality or grip durability. Once the grip is attached to the gimbal, the mass is supported and the user will have no sense of it aside from a little bit of extra inertia, which is also dictated by the gimbal's recentering system. What I'm trying to say is I would personally choose a good quality lighter grip over a grip that is heavy for nothing. We should cover some aspects of what makes a joystick for space different, or what sort of features are valuable to a space sim pilot. When it comes to buttons, if I'm flying a jet or plane, I value when the grip copies the controls of the plane that I'm flying. Thrustmaster did this first, offering the Cougar, then the Warthog, and the Hornet grip. These replica-style grips don't offer the number of bindings that I might like to use. For controlling a space game, jets are complicated with a lot of systems, but space requires even more. Sensors, comms, targeting, shields, power, weapons, and navigation. It's important that all of these are always at your fingertips because the other option is reaching for a keyboard. That might get you killed. So if I was going to plan to build my own perfect joystick for space, I wouldn't need for it to copy anything, and I would include as many bindings as I could achieve while keeping the layout logical. The mixture of binding types is also important, so I would want a dual stage trigger, something to quickly toggle between weapon systems, a mini joystick, bunch of hat switches, encoders, and my favorite, because it's so great for controlling zoom, system power, or cruise speeds, and that is the mouse style wheel. As I said, you should try to limit what is put onto the grip because not everything can fit in your hand. Some functions you may use periodically, so when designing the Solar, they also placed many bindings upon the base. And you can think of this solution as if they added a button panel and a joystick together. This idea itself is not unique in any way, but the choice of some of the buttons is actually really cool. Thrustmaster's parent company also has the company Hercules, which makes DJ equipment. And that let them share parts for this new joystick. The soft buttons on a DJ mixer register every time, without fail, even if you're not accurate and accidentally push the edge. The most durable, most clicky, nicest, and easiest buttons to use are on a DJ panel. A DJ button needs to be 100% every time, so they are overkill for a joystick. You end up with 8 of these on each base, and these are individually addressable RGB. Why is that important? Consider that you have target nearest friendly illuminated in blue, target nearest enemy can be set to bright red, target next enemy can be set to 50% red. Shield systems could be in white, power systems could be in green, and I'm sure that you can see the potential uses for this feature. RGB is not unique to Solar, and there are many controllers that have buttons that look similar to this, but they aren't, and until you try these specific buttons for yourself, you won't know how uniquely great these are. Completing the tour of the base, we have clicky momentary switches, an encoder dial, and a mode switch. Here is the binding rundown, but I also have a link in the description to a Google Sheet for more detail. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the front and back sides of the left side Deadman two-way toggles. 5, 6, 7, 8 are the 4 left DJ style push buttons. 9, 10, 11 are the left side encoder with push down. 12, 13, 14, 15 are the front back sides of the right side Deadman two-way toggle switches. 16, 17, 18, 19 are the right side DJ style buttons. 20, 21, 22, 23 are the rotating mode switch. Now we move over to the grip. 24, 25 are the 2 stages of the main trigger. Thrustmaster always has the right tune on its triggers. It's accurate, has good feedback, both tactile and sound, a textbook execution for the trigger on the Solar. 26, 27 is the two-way Deadman in front of the trigger, and this is specifically useful for selecting between flight modes, selecting weapon fire modes, or releasing countermeasures. 28 is the pinky button, which can be mounted on either side just by pulling it out. And I use this for voice push to talk on Discord or VoIP, allowing me to use voice attack, clear my throat or cough without disturbing everyone in the chat room. 29 is the push in on the dual analog mini style stick. 30 through 34 are the 5 bindings on the right side 8-way hat switch. And I'm going to say both hat switches are tuned such that you will never misclick or accidentally mash the wrong input. And once again, a nice tactile click and sound, textbook execution that you might expect. 35 is the golden orange left push button. 36 is click in on the mouth style wheel. Note, unlike the Virpil Alpha, this is a single stage click down. 37, 38 are up and down roll of the mouse style wheel. 39 is the golden orange right push button. 40 is push in on the hat switch, and then you have 41 through 44 for the bindings completing the right side 8-way hat switch. So that's a total of 44 bindings per side, and when you use 2, it doubles. Within the software, you may change the behavior of 3 of these. You may choose to operate the right 8-way hat switch as a POV switch instead. You may choose to operate the left encoder dial as a virtual axis, and you may choose to operate the mouse style wheel as a virtual axis. So there are many solid options for you to customize. The Solar provides the following axes. You obviously have X and Y in the base. This is the full magnetic sensor that you find on the newest Warthog. You have Z twist in the grip, which can be mechanically locked out with an Allen key. The tension on this is quite nice. RX and RY are the analog mini stick. Some of you asked me to discuss the accuracy and data rates for this axis. With Thrustmaster, the most minor movement is always captured immediately here and on the mini stick. It's very important to note that there is a small dead zone on the mini stick, but it's manageable. I had no difficulty manipulating this and the main axis at the same time with precision. You have a throttle slider from 0 to 100, and it doesn't have any middle detent. And as I said, there are 3 bindings that can be made to operate as an axis. These extra functions work very well as a trim. So you have 88 bindings and up to 16 axes when running a pair of these. This is not only a lot, but the layout is also pretty clean. Time to nerd out a bit. Thrustmaster uses a Hall effect sensor. Magnetic interference changes its field as a ferrous material is moved about the sensor. This change is interpreted as movement, and it's currently how most sensors work, but Thrustmaster was the first and has a pretty cool patent on this specific design. The data rates and precision leave nothing to be desired here. A couple of more important things to discuss, and then we can close out the video with the so what. Tuning is highly personalized, as each pilot will have a preferred specific behavior for the recentering mechanism. If you're tuning for space, the regular joystick tune that is normal for jets and planes may not always be the best. Tuning is not only the resistance, but how that resistance is applied. Resistance can be strong to light, and resistance can be progressive or flat. A progressive curve starts with a little bit of resistance when leaving the neutral point and then builds as you deflect further away. But a flat or linear tune provides a consistent force back to neutral regardless of where the stick is. Dual stick in a space sim often has one or more axes always around 100% for very long durations. So please indulge me. I need to quickly explain the difference between the 2 gimbal designs because it matters and you should know. The Warthog gimbal, the T16000M family, and now the Solar all achieve a true flat profile because of how they're built. We can call these ball, cone, and spring. Both sides of a cone are forced into each other with a spring about a ball joint, and that makes the ball want to return to neutral or centered position. Most everything else on the market is roller cam and spring, including the new Ava gimbal and the other high-end sticks from VKB and Virpil. I've seen a trend in Reddit comments and in some other reviews now that automatically disregard ball, cone, and spring as old, bad, and to be avoided. It's not really that simple because it's actually got some benefits. It's the only one that automatically offers a pure flat profile. And I did say that a flat tuning behavior does favor space. It is possible to grind a set of cams flatter for space, but ball, cone, and spring does this naturally. And I really feel like I'm on the edge of going down some kind of rabbit hole on the subject and chew up a bunch of time. Don't worry, the merits of each design should probably be its own video, but here are the quick notes as it's important to this subject for this review. Ball, cone, and spring have almost no moving parts, and this design will stand the test of time providing it's not trashed or abused by the user. I had someone visit who tried very hard to twist one of my Warthog gimbals in the Z-axis. It failed and it needed to be replaced, but there's a difference in failure due to normal use and failure due to abuse. So I will put it to you that the poor reputation might be improper to apply in general without knowing how many failures there might be versus how many units are still working flawlessly. The Solar was designed to outperform expectations, deal with years of vigorous use bordering on abuse. I keep an open mind during the review process, and I usually save much more abusive testing near the end. Thrustmaster knew that care needed to be taken leading up to the final production to get the tension just right. The main disadvantage of ball, cone, and spring is that the tension is not something that can be easily changed by the end user. During beta testing for this joystick, many prototypes were evaluated. First off, they were way too stiff, and they were a little bit too stiff, and then they were better and better. The current tune sits nicely between the Warthog and the green T16000M. Being tuned right out of the box is a huge advantage for the customer. Ball, cone, and spring also offers a true no-bump transition when aiming. I can quickly explain. The bearing cam and spring design is 2 recentering systems joined into one unit. Each have a neutral bump when traveling through minus to positive axis. You might feel that middle detent more for both depending on what cams you install. A ball, cone, and spring gimbal will only present a bump when both X and Y are at neutral, and you can adjust and minimize this in VKB, Virpil, and Thrustmaster Ava, but once again, the out-of-the-box tune is ideal on Solar because of the type of gimbal recentering. I'm done with the subject, I don't want to beat it to death, and you can experience all of this for yourself by pressing a Warthog or a T16000M slightly into positive Y and then moving back and forth in X. Take a trip to Best Buy or something and test it out for yourself. Seamless transition every time. An interesting advantage to you, the user, when playing on solar. Are aesthetics and RGB important? Perhaps not to everyone, but they're a big part of solar, so we're going to cover it. First, you've noticed that Thrustmaster took a risk leaning away from that standard black and red. By opting for a slightly off-white, black, and golden orange, it's a clear statement that we are in space and sci-fi territory. I think they look great on your desk in a dark room, backlit by your monitor. RGB can be more than looks. In this case, it helps you operate in a darker environment to match the rest of your system, but most importantly, like I said, you're able to set what you want where. So order and group your bindings to save time when it counts. The white aesthetic matches everything just like black does, and if you don't like the illumination, it can be dimmed or turned off. So now we come to the so what part of the video where I discuss the value, quality, and this as an investment. Between the heavy metal base plate and the base case, there's no flex and things are formed with a thick wall. Buttons and dials are attached in a manner where even abusive force doesn't dislodge them. Despite the gimbal being polymer, there's no flex or creaking. The grip attaches and becomes one with the gimbal. Everything feels and operates very well, and eventually you forget the joystick and you're left only with the game. I know efforts were made to balance the quality versus the price. The solar project's biggest issue really doesn't have much to do with the product itself. It has to do with the other companies who have occupied the space stick market. It's both exciting and scary to be a consumer in the market with so many options and so many opinions. I do have Wall of Joystick version 2.0 in our new studio. It's a visual representation of that situation. I'm personally one who loves a good fight. I love a contender who turns a problem on its side. I love a contender who's willing to min-max and take a risk. So when you think of risk, Thrustmaster isn't really a name that would come to mind, but if you decide to add these to cart, I know you're going to be happy. At a target price of $400 for both left and right, it's certainly not the least expensive option out there. And yeah, I know some of you are going to say it's plastic and not metal, but the solar, in my opinion, is a big jump up from the community favorites VKB NXT, and in no way is that me saying that the NXT are bad. They just shouldn't be compared to this at 1-to-1. The solar gimbal also outperforms the flight stick from Turtle Beach, and it keeps you on a budget better compared to others. You get a lot of value for your money, and I don't think I can explain it any more simply than that. Maximum effort seems to have been expended to create the best product at a fair price. If you're on the market to upgrade your T16000M, this is great. And if you're buying for the first time and have an extra $50 to spend, you should strongly consider this in lieu of VKB NXT. Fit, finish, and performance are better. You do lack some adjustability, but the base tune and function are set where they should be right out of the box. And that's it. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Not everyone's going to share my opinion, but before you proclaim that I'm wrong, as many often do in the comments, at least be bothered to try the sticks out for yourself, please. My observations are tempered and come from years of experiencing what is available on the market. In this case, if the price remains at where it is, the value, performance, and quality proposition is very good. Subscribe to see more in the near future. I always have a couple of exciting new products being tested. Fly safe.